Most people don't incorporate enough single leg work into their programming, whether it's for a strength program, muscle building program, whatever. You should be doing more single leg work, and there's three main reasons why. The first reason is that there's less loading on the spine and there's less loading on the lower back. So if you think of like a typical leg workout, the go-to movements are going to be the squat, which is primarily the back squat, or like a deadlift, whether it's a conventional deadlift with a straight bar or with kettlebells or whatever. Those movements are great, but usually what happens is the weakest point within those movements is typically the lower back. And by performing single leg exercises, like whether it's rear foot elevated split squats, lunges, lateral lunges, heavy step ups, all that sort of stuff, it completely bypasses the lower back and the spine, and it puts all the loading primarily onto the legs without putting your lower back at risk. So if you're typically squatting with a barbell or deadlifting with a barbell or whatever, and you're feeling maybe some pain in the lower back, or you feel like your legs can handle more loading than your lower back can, try migrating over to some single leg work, because by performing single leg exercise, like I said, it takes a lot of the loading off of the lower back and the spine, and it puts all the emphasis on those legs. So that's the first reason why you should be doing more single leg work. The second reason is that there's a lot of core and coordination work that goes into single leg exercises. Reason being is because you're minimizing your base of support from the floor. If you think about yourself standing on 2 feet, it's a lot easier to balance on 2 feet than it is if you were to like lift 1 foot off the ground and try to balance off 1 foot. Your body has to work a lot harder, and your brain has to work a lot harder to balance yourself out with your core muscles and your overall coordination. So if you're someone who's working out at home, you don't have access to a lot of like heavy weights or barbells or access to like some of the equipment that you would get at a gym, doing a lot of single leg exercises is a really good way to challenge your lower body without having to use like big equipment and big weights, because you're challenging your core and your coordination by minimizing your base of support and doing single leg work instead of bilateral exercises. The third reason you want to do more single leg work is because most athletic movements you see, whether it's running, walking upstairs, jumping, kicking, these are all movements that are performed on one leg. So it makes sense to train within that setting. You want your training to kind of mimic your athletic performance as much as possible. So if you're an athlete training for a sport, whether you're a fighter, basketball player, if you're a runner, especially runners too, you want to be doing a lot of more single leg work, because most of the stuff you're doing in your given sport is done on one leg anyways. So it just makes sense to make your training mimic what you're trying to improve on the field or on the court or in the octagon or whatever you're doing. So single leg work is so underrated. It's something that so much of the population can benefit from. And the three main reasons why you want to do it, excuse me, again, are decreasing the load on the spine and putting all the load on the lower body, increasing core engagement because you're minimizing your base of support by standing on 1 foot, and it mimics athletic performance or mimics athletic movement, so it improves overall athletic performance. Okay, start incorporating more single leg work in your program today.